At one point, Opium was seen as cool. You yourself may not have thought it was cool. The sight of Ken Carson, Destroy Lonely, and Playboi Carti might not have made your mouth salivate like some of these fans, but you have to admit there was some allure to it. I mean, at one point, Opium was kind of cool. I feel like we were all like, damn, Carti really just signed some random dude at the time and turned him into a star. They had this little mysterious thing going. They're moving as a unit, both stylistically in how they dressed, but how they moved in public. That is, if you count wearing all black, lying about your release dates, pretending to be gay and woman and aesthetic, joking about the last two, of course. They had a nice little thing going. Fast forward to the middle of 2024, we got G-list Homicide gang members beefing. A Nepo baby producer somehow snuck his way in and ruined everything. I'm just kidding, it was always Ken Carson's best friend. But I feel like we can all agree that Opium has lost its allure. And at this point, you could even say it's a sinking ship. With how Homicide gang's career has been going, as well as the constant, I'd say, out of character moments Opium as a label has been having, which I'll get into, for example, with Lil 88. Anyways, I'm gonna explain what's been going on in Opium recently, how this was different from before, and why it looks like as a label, not their main artists, they're starting to fall apart. So what kind of started or inspired this video idea for me was when I was on Twitter the other day and I saw that not one of Homicide gang, but a member of Homicide 500, had dissed one of the members of Homicide gang. And I'm not even gonna go into the beef because it's completely irrelevant, but all I was thinking, or not all I was thinking, but what I was thinking was that 2 or 3 years ago, you wouldn't really see this happening. It's more of a recent occurrence, and it's actually been very common recently for all of these artists in Opium to have like these little slip-ups. And what's unusual about this is when they first came out, it was the complete opposite. You'd almost hear nothing from the camp at all. So how did Opium become so uncool? So the first reason I feel like fans are kind of getting sick of Opium is the whole mysterious thing is getting kind of played out, and they actually aren't as mysterious as they once were. For example, Ken Carson does plenty of interviews, plenty of media appearances, doesn't really act too cool or anything. He still does some pretty corny stuff like the way he types, but you know, we'll look past that. And actually, he's come so far in his career that, and by the way, he was always like the main artist when people thought of Opium, that he's kind of in a class of his own. However, then you can look at artists like Homicide gang and absolutely nobody respects them. I feel like when they first came in, people actually they were willing to give them a chance, but ever since they began beefing with Summers, random members throwing shots at D Savage, or just being idiots in general, and most importantly, just dropping pretty bad music. I mean, if you listen to it, they have some songs that are alright and they do have somewhat of a fan base, but I think everyone can agree Homicide gang is not all that. On top of that, one of their members is allegedly a P-word, and there are multiple instances of him trying to get with underage girls. That obviously doesn't make him look good. All that lore just damages fans' public perception of Opium. When you think of Opium, you think of all these artists combined, like under the same umbrella, and Homicide gang is one of them. So I think they've definitely done some damage to the whole Opium label or whatever. Then you can look at Destroy Lonely. Now I'm not gonna lie, Destroy Lonely's music, pretty good. His discography, really good. But over the last year, I would say ever since he released If Looks Could Kill, he's just been on a horrible dry streak. And not even with snippets or how he's acting. I mean, he had one incident that was really bad. But just the music he's been releasing. He just hasn't been able to satisfy his fans, and everything he does just seems to be the wrong move. For example, he had I'm gonna say like an underground hit single, If Looks Could Kill. Then he dropped the album. Everyone was like, yo, this album was trash, bro. Like, way too many songs. Everything sounded the same. Everything was mid. Like, all right. I'm dropping this new album. Pretends to drop it. Lies about dropping it. Teases snippets. Fans called him trash. Announces Lil 88 is executive producing the album. Makes fans even more mad. And now no one takes him seriously. Keep in mind, in 2021, everyone was like, oh my god, this church, this parking lot is so Destroy Lonely. Yo, this Target in Europe is so Destroy Lonely. Like, you'll never catch anyone saying that again. Even the corniest, most diehard Opium fans. You know what I mean? And of course, he also allegedly touched his girl as well. So yeah, that doesn't really help your case, does it? However, the majority of fans don't care if an artist or rapper did something wrong. They're just here for the music, let's be honest. Lastly, I'd say Lil 88 is another major reason why Opium, actually it's not a major reason, but you can kind of sum it all up by just looking at him, alright? Every time I see something that Lil 88 has said, it kind of reminds me of when Blueface and Krishan Rock were like all over the internet like a couple years ago, and I would just learn all this random information against my will. For some reason, for like a month or two, every time Lil 88 would make any announcement, any tweet, every fan would just hear about it for some reason. All these pages would report on it. And obviously nobody cares about Lil 88. They just want to know stuff about Ken Carson or Destroy Lonely. But eventually he just got on everyone's nerves and he started pissing people off, and he was just annoying, and he was just doing way too much. I mean, I even saw the other day that apparently he was getting Uzi on nitrous. If you don't know what that is, basically doing whippets with them. Uzi and Brand Finesse. Uzi's like main producer. And anytime something bad happens in the underground, people will just comment, I know Lil 88 has something to do with this. Like for example, yesterday I posted a video and it was about Netspend having his songs being taken down. Someone said, I just know Lil 88 has something to do with this. Like, that's how much people hate Lil 88. And when you put all these things together, it doesn't make me feel like Opium is falling off, because let's be honest, Cardi's gonna drop, he's gonna sell like 300k, 200k, whatever he sells. Ken Carson is gonna sell 50k plus. Destroy Lonely is likely gonna sell somewhere from 30 to 50k. But it just feels like they're no longer moving as a unit. They no longer feel together, and they're just all over the place. And at this point, it just seems like they're winging it. They have no idea what they're doing, and there's just no level of proper execution going anywhere. For example, when I was talking about Destroy Lonely, his rollout has been butchered so bad, it's honestly, and I can make a whole video on just that, but how do you confirm a date for when you're dropping a lead single and then take it back, and then say you never had a rollout to begin with, and then apologize for lying for all of that, and then give no news? Meanwhile, you're just previewing like mid snippets. There is this one snippet that's really hard, it's called Baby Money, but it doesn't even build hype, it's just annoying. In my opinion, it kills hype. And the one song he did drop, Love For Ya, it's probably the most hated song in this entire like scene this entire year. But anyways, there were some fans on Reddit who also shared my sentiments, so let's go over it. Someone named Kill Bill Rill said, who else feels like Opium is burnt out now? Lone should have dropped the album in April like he was supposed to, but didn't, and no one cares about Homicide Gang dropping music. Ken Carson making the same rage music still. It's burnt out for real. Ken Carson making the same rage music, that's a point I didn't really touch on, but I don't really agree with. Anyways, let's see what people said. I feel like Lone lying twice and LLF snippets we've heard and loved being scrapped, combined with Cardi just disappearing mid-rollout, plus Kendrick coming back with new music and beef, just made any hype regarding anyone in Opium to fizzle out completely. And it makes me feel amazing. Great, because now they have to actually put in effort. So basically, Opium just lost all their buzz, and I agree. I don't think it was because of the Kendrick Drake beef though, maybe a little bit, but I don't really think their fans care that much. I just think they fumbled it so bad, you know what I mean? Another person said, Homicide Gang drops like every other day and they're on social media 24/7, they're breaking the Opium rules. Bro hired random thugs to be in his label, I don't know what they were thinking. So let me tell you what they were thinking. They were thinking, let's sign these guys that are street because they'll add like this toughness and respect that we could get from like a street level that we couldn't otherwise. Instead, I believe they got kind of clowned on by that crowd. You know, Benji Bluebills was saying, yo, Homicide is extorting Cardi. No Cardi fan cares that Homicide Gang is an actual gang. They just, Homicide, like, no, they don't care. And yeah, Homicide Gang has proven to be the most talkative, and whatever Cardi does with like completely avoiding social media and trying to be as mysterious as possible, Homicide Gang just somehow does the opposite. Like, they just don't have, they're just not like Opium PR trained. Like, Cardi needs to PR train them or something, I don't know. Another person said, it's just the constant allegations for me make them look like cornballs. Someone says, is it the allegations if there are pictures? Yeah, I'm just tired of teasing and fake promises, plus their music is getting kind of boring to me. Yeah, I feel like they progressed, but they haven't progressed that much. If you think about it, Destroy Lonely is like, from no stylist to now, some people think he's actually digressed, like they think his music has gotten worse. Others just don't really see the vision with his new sound, or even his last sound after No Stylist. Ken Carson is super popular, so I wouldn't really say it applies to him. However, like the original poster did say, to some people, it's just him making the same rage music. I don't know about that though. Someone said, I don't even like their music anymore. People gotta realize you can only be mysterious lying heads for so long till nobody give up anymore. Songs are either mid or overplayed. Another thing you gotta realize is that most of Opium's fans are chronically online Cardi fans. So Cardi already has this huge fan base that messes with them really hard, but they just don't care about other artists in Opium. Like maybe they care about like Ken Carson, or maybe they listen to like a Destroy Lonely song, but they don't really care about them. They definitely don't care about Homicide Gang. So a lot of the people that are really invested in like Destroy Lonely and Homicide Gang, they've kind of remained, but all the more mainstream and just like regular Cardi fans have kind of dipped out the picture, if that makes sense, or they just don't care as much, because those types of fans are way easier to lose. At least their attention is way easier to lose than, you know, just think about it. If you're a fan of Homicide Gang, like you're going to their shows, you're listening to all their music, there's really no going back. You know what I mean? Another person said, they were never original, creative, or talented. They all just hopped on the Cardi train. They will never create their own lane. Damn, bro, you cooking them. And this is actually a very strong point. There's another thread where someone also said, do you think Opium is falling off? Someone said, fall off? Those guys started on the ground, bro. They all just riding on Cardi's hype. Not a single original thing that came out of any of them. So basically, the all black, the beats, the aesthetic, everything. A lot of people feel like they just copied Cardi. And honestly, there's a pretty good argument there. I feel like every artist label, because that's what Opium is always kind of just there to serve the main artist. Like for example, you can look at Kanye's Good Music. It was always there just to serve Kanye. You know, most of those people on the label, Kid Cudi, you know, he left the label for this reason. He wasn't really getting much attention. Big Sean, they were writing on Kanye's albums. You know, he was using them as writers. And when they would come together to put together an album, you know, Kanye was always getting something out of it. You can look at Drake and, you know, it's literally called the OVO Sweatshop, or that's what the rumors are. And it's because most of these artists just write for Drake. You know, they ghostwrite for him, right? You could look at Gucci Mane, and I'm pretty sure his label is just for him to make a little money on the side, like now that he's in the twilight zone of his career. You could look at Future and Free Bands. I don't even know what that's for, because you guys know any Free Bands artists? Maybe you know like Real Boston Richie or something, but as far as artist labels go, they're usually like this. Like, you know how I said Gucci Mane? Like, he used to just sign people that would sound like him, you know? It was a well-known thing. The other thing about these artists, and you know, you could definitely say this about Ken Carson and Destroy Lonely and Homicide Gang, is they were never gonna organically reach this point. Ken Carson would have never reached this point if he didn't get a handout from Cardi. I'm not saying he didn't work his ass off to get to where he was, because if you listen to his very early music, it wasn't very good. He's definitely put in a lot of work, but he organically would have never gone to this position. Destroy Lonely, although he was talented, definitely wouldn't have gone to this position. Homicide Gang definitely would not have gone to this position. So none of these artists were really like ever supposed to make it this far. And because of that, their talent kind of falls behind their popularity. Another thing is, when Opium first started, they were new. They were a new aesthetic, you know? Now they're kind of old, they're more established. And while that does have a lot of pros, like for example, Ken Carson's last album, it really was very good and it sold like crazy. I don't think anyone would have ever expected Ken Carson to sell 50K. There are just more options and sounds, if that makes sense. Anyways, here's what I think is gonna happen. I think Destroy Lonely, Ken Carson, Cardi are probably all gonna drop at the end of the year. Cardi will probably drop at the end of the year, if not maybe like early next year, but you know, it's gonna happen. I would say after Cardi drops though, there will probably be a drought for Opium in terms, like for fans at least. Cause think about it, a Cardi's album took like 4 years, or like 3 years, 4 years for it to come. So after it drops, it's not like so for example, let's say Destroy Lonely dropped an album, right? Like when he dropped If Looks Could Kill, they let that album have like a moment maybe for a month, or fans kind of had it like in their convos for a month. AGC has been around for some months, or was like I would say it was like a moment, like a month, and it was a conversational topic maybe for like 2 months, 3 months maybe. Cardi's next album, Music, they'll try to do that for like 6 months to a year. Now that doesn't mean they won't allow Ken Carson to maybe drop a project, or Destroy Lonely to drop a project, but I don't think that they'll have the hype that they have now, because everyone's gonna be so fixated on Cardi. And I also think that their whole aesthetic is really burnt out. I think the number one way Opium can come back from all the corniness, all like the burnt out allegations, is they have to rebrand themselves. And I would say that starts from Cardi. So I would imagine Music sounds like something completely different to Whole Lotta Red. And I would imagine he also dresses completely different from Whole Lotta Red. I don't even know what that would look like, but you know, maybe new color, maybe white. I doubt he'll do something like that, but I don't know. I just feel like they have to rebrand somehow, or else it's kind of over, you know? That's all I'm gonna say. Anyways, thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Let me know what you think, and